All right, let's get right into it. We're going to unpack a really powerful report that shines a light on a system of forced labor. But this isn't happening in some far off factory. No, this is taking place inside a Nigerian military installation, the Eburutu Barracks. Together, we're going to break down how this system allegedly works, explore the devastating human cost, and look at the two completely different stories being told, one by the people living there and a very different one by the army. Just listen to this from someone who lives there. They hit my doors so hard the first night, I almost fainted. Right away, you can feel it. That's not just a sentence, it's a window into the kind of nightly terror that residents say they have to live with. A fear that really just takes over every part of their lives.
So let's start there. Section 1, Life in the Shadows. We're talking about fear and control inside a place called the Mammy Market.
So what exactly is the Mammy Market? Well, picture this. A crowded civilian neighborhood, just tucked right inside a military base. People from all different backgrounds live here, often in pretty chaotic conditions. But the real challenge isn't the housing. It's the unwritten rules and the absolute power that the soldiers have over them. Everyone is afraid to talk, even though we know this is against our rights. You know, that quote tells you everything. This isn't about people being ignorant of their rights. They know what's happening is wrong. The problem is the fear. It's a climate of intimidation so strong that it just silences everyone. So how does this control become a system? Well, let's move on to Section 2. We're going to deconstruct the mechanics of this forced labor, and it all comes down to one simple, ominous word: fatigue. Fatigue, that's the name for it. It's a long-standing system of compulsory, unpaid work. And it's not just for some people, it's imposed on every single civilian household inside the barracks. It's not a request, it's a demand. And this system isn't random at all. It's highly organized. Residents say there are 3 types. First, there's general fatigue, which is the one they fear most. That's when soldiers conduct daytime raids, just grabbing men and boys off the street for urgent jobs. Then you have barracks fatigue, a mandatory cleaning routine every Saturday for every single household. And finally, traders fatigue, which specifically targets shop owners and transport workers for midweek cleaning. And it's not just about labor, there's a financial angle here too. On top of all the forced work, every household has to pay a monthly levy, a pass, of 1,000 naira. The residents say they have no idea where the money actually goes. All they know is that if you don't pay, there are serious consequences. So what happens to the people who can't pay or who miss a fatigue duty? Well, that brings us to Section 3, the price of defiance. And this is where the human cost becomes incredibly, starkly clear. The main tool of enforcement, according to the people living there, is midnight raids. They describe soldiers just storming their homes in the dead of night. And the way residents talk about it is chilling. They say it feels like an armed robbery attack. And the punishment, wow, it's a process. It starts with being dragged from your home at midnight. Then they say you're taken to a wet, mosquito-filled guard room and forced to just stand there all night. The next day, you're assigned even heavier manual labor. The whole thing seems designed for maximum humiliation. The impact is just devastating. Listen to how one victim puts it. It is humiliation. You lose sleep, you lose your job, you lose your dignity. See, it's not just physical. It's about systematically stripping away a person's entire life and sense of self-worth. Okay, so we've heard the stories. Now let's reframe this from a legal standpoint. Section 4 shows how experts see this, and they don't call it a barracks tradition. They call it a serious crime, a violation of both national and international law. Human rights lawyer First Baba Isa, he doesn't mince words. He says this goes way beyond a minor issue. It is, and I quote, forced labor and modern enslavement. He even says that using fear and intimidation this way could be seen as a form of terrorism. And right here, the contradiction is just undeniable. On one side, you have Section 34 of the Nigerian Constitution, the highest law of the land, which explicitly says no forced labor, period. And on the other side, you have the reality that residents are describing. The two simply cannot exist together. And it's not just one law. Legal experts say this practice violates the Constitution, it violates the Labor Act, it even violates the Armed Forces Act itself. It's also a crime under the Anti-Torture Act, and it breaches international treaties that Nigeria has signed. The list just goes on and on. So we have the residents' testimony. We have the legal framework. Now, for the final piece of the puzzle, the official response from the Nigerian army. And this is where two completely different realities just slam into each other. Just listen to one more resident story of the real-world impact. They hit my door at 1 a.m. I lost my job appointment the next morning. A clear story, right? Coercion leading to direct personal harm. Now hold that thought and listen to the official response. And there it is. The official response from the Army's Public Relations Officer, Major Yemi Sakawa. A direct, flat-out denial. He says, quote, "There is nothing like being forced."
The spokesperson goes on to explain that this is just a tradition for keeping the barracks clean. He dismisses the allegations of abuse, saying he is, quote, "not sure anybody is being maltreated or beaten," which directly contradicts every single one of the vivid accounts of midnight raids and punishment that we've just heard from the residents. So we're left with two narratives that just cannot be reconciled. On the one hand, you have consistent, detailed testimony from so many anonymous residents, all describing a system of fear, forced labor, and abuse. And on the other, you have a complete and total denial from the military authority. It all leaves us with a fundamental question about justice and accountability. When testimony and authority collide this hard, who is left to protect the vulnerable?